Welcome into a Friday morning edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Sallee. I appreciate you guys checking out the show. It is Friday morning, so wrapping up the week with your questions. Early this morning on X, I asked which quarterbacks will come out of nowhere and contend for the Heisman Trophy. Big response from all of you. So we're going to address some of those, not all of them, but some of those in today's show. Now, a reminder, your comments are welcomed. Please comment, whether it be on X, if you're watching on X, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. Give me a comment while this show is live, and I'll try to address them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And a reminder, every single episode, I do this. I want you to go listen to everybody on the Believe Network. Go watch their content on YouTube. Go watch and listen to Late Kick with Josh Pate or Andy Staples on 3 or all those guys. You don't get what you need from the mainstream legacy media. As a college football fan, we don't care about LeBron James versus Michael Jordan or any of that crap. We want to know about college football. So you deserve it. It's out there in the new media world. So go consume it. You might not like what I say sometimes. You might like what I say sometimes. It's all good. Give the show a 5-star if you can, whether it be Apple or Spotify or whatever. Subscribe. And look, let's be honest. If you know how to do the podcast thing, if you're listening to this or watching this right now live, you know how to do it. Even if you're watching it on delay, you know how to do it. But your friend, your neighbor, your son, your dad, they may not. So go share this show with them if you can. This show brought to you by BetOnline, your number one source for all things sports this summer, whether it be golf or Major League Baseball or NBA playoffs or NHL playoffs or whatever. Go to BetOnline, get all the latest scores, news available right there on your browser. It is fantastic what they do. Get all the latest odds and lines, player props as well. Go to the website today, betonline.ag, betonline.ag. You can do it on your mobile device. You can do it on your laptop, iPad, whatever. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we're not going to, this is going to be a little bit rapid fire. And like I said, if you have comments, leave them in the comment section. I'll get to them. But a little bit rapid fire, and not necessarily rapid fire, I should say, because there are, six, I should say, quarterbacks we're going to get into here on the show. So it's going to take a little while. Like these shows generally are 23 minutes. That's kind of how this is done on the Believe Network. So we're going to try to get all these guys in over the course of that time frame. So without further ado, let's go right off the bat. Michael Vogel, Pro Football Scout for FTSN, wants to know about Riley Leonard. Thinks Riley Leonard is going to be the guy who comes out of nowhere and contends for the Heisman Trophy. And of course, Riley got banged up at Duke, transferred to Notre Dame, kind of following the Sam Hartman path from ACC to South Bend. Look, I like Riley Leonard a lot. I think this is actually a very, very good pick to contend for the Heisman Trophy. He has the talent. We've seen that. We saw that at Duke under Mike Elko. The dude is phenomenal, whether it be through the air or on the ground. Now he's banged up, but he's got all that you need to contend for the Heisman Trophy. He's in a very high-profile place at Notre Dame. He's got the chance to put up video game stats, and he has the chance to lead his team to the college football playoff. Those are the three things that when I'm voting for the Heisman Trophy, and I am a Heisman Trophy voter, I kind of check those boxes, right? Video game stats, check. Leading your team potentially to the meaningful postseason, check. And are you just flat out good? Are you just flat out good? Are you the MVP of the team? Would the team crumble without you? I think Riley Leonard is sort of a check, because I do think that Notre Dame would be good without him. And that's the thing that's working against Riley Leonard in this discussion. How important is he to their playoff run? Because I think Notre Dame, and we've said this on this show a lot, pretty much every single year, Notre Dame's going to make the college football playoff, whether it's Riley Leonard or Sam Hartman or quarterback X to be named later up in South Bend. It's set up well for them, because I know this is shocking to a lot of people, and Notre Dame's the most polarizing program in college football. Well, generally speaking, maybe it's Colorado now, but whatever. Notre Dame is usually properly rated preseason. I know folks want to say, no, they're not. They're always overrated. No, they pretty much are properly rated. If you go back and look at where they are in the AP Top 25 before the season and where they end up, usually it's about right. And so I fully expect Notre Dame to be a top 10, 12, 15 team preseason. The schedule sets up well. USC is not what it normally is. The trip to Texas A&M in the opener is going to be a lot of fun. But if you're talking about a 10-2 Notre Dame team, which I think is very fair, especially with Riley Leonard at quarterback, then you're talking about a playoff team. So Riley's going to have the visibility. He's going to be important for his team to go to the meaningful postseason. And in that system with Marcus Freeman and flat out his skills, then yes, I believe Riley Leonard can be a Heisman candidate. With that said, and this is, I think, where the conversation needs to be addressed, the question I asked on X is which quarterback will come out of nowhere to contend for the Heisman Trophy. I don't think Riley Leonard will come out of nowhere. Does he count? I don't think so. Everybody knows about Riley Leonard. Everybody knows how good he can be. Everybody knows what he did at Duke. So how much of a surprise would it be if he contended for the Heisman Trophy? To me, the only thing holding him back, the only reason maybe to doubt him would be, is he 100%? Or what is his new 100%? I guess that's more important. What is his new 100%? Because it might be different than it was when he's healthy. We don't know. We have to see that. We'll see that on opening night against Texas A&M, but I don't think he comes out of nowhere. I think he's already in the discussion. I think that highly of Riley Leonard. I'm sorry. That was a terrible rhyme. I shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be friends with me. You're smart. I'm dumb. I apologize. Kevin Vallone with the Vol capitalized. Nico, and it's not close. Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee. Vol Twitter, I love Nico. I really do. I love Nico. What he did in the bowl game, though, was not as big as it's sort of being made out to be. Sure, he scored twice on the ground. I get it. But did he have this monster record-setting game? Not really. With that said, and the question that I think is being asked all over, certainly in SEC country, but I think anybody who's even talking about Nico is whether he's Joe Milton, who had a pretty good Orange Bowl 2 years ago and then kind of tanked last year, or is he Hendon Hooker, a transfer who comes in and lights the world on fire? Like, that is ultimately the question that will determine Tennessee's season, right? And he's more Hendon Hooker than he is Nico Iamaleava. I'm sorry. That's his name. Nico is more Hendon Hooker than he is Joe Milton. Because what did we know about Joe Milton? He only had a fastball. What do we know about Nico Iamaleava? Higher ceiling, we haven't seen whether he can make every single throw. But we know he has that in his bag. So he's going to make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. He's going to make mistakes. But judging from his high school film, he's got a more versatile repertoire than Joe Milton. So to me, he's more Hendon Hooker. Plus, he's in a system that fits his skill set. Now, it fit Joe Milton's skill set too, but Joe Milton didn't have a curveball. He didn't have a changeup. I think Nico does. Now, when we're talking about the Heisman Trophy, getting back to my checklist, getting back to what I think about when I'm voting for the Heisman Trophy. And yes, I am a voter. How valuable is he for the team? Very valuable. Without Nico, they're not contending. Is he going to put up video game stats? Yeah, he will, especially in that system. Does he lead his team to the college football playoff or just overall team success? That, my friends, is where we run into a little bit of a roadblock. Is Tennessee going to make the college football playoff? Right now, I think they're a fringe team. And if you're a fringe team right now, you're basically just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, well, what does the landscape give us? Because that's what really matters. What does the landscape give us? So ultimately, that is what's going to make or break Nico's Heisman campaign. Can they get off that fringe and be legitimately in the mix in November, in late November? That's what it's going to be. But would he qualify as coming out of nowhere to make a Heisman Trophy run? Absolutely. No doubt about it. It would be completely out of nowhere. The dude hasn't done an awful lot in college at all. So yeah, he qualifies. Could I see it happening? Yes. I think right now Tennessee is one of those bubble teams. I think if Nico gets hot, then yes, he might be able to lead them to the back end of that college football playoff. Again, it's kind of what the landscape gives you. So it's hard to sort of predict exactly what Tennessee will be, and the video game stats will be there. There's no doubt in my mind that the video game stats will be there. JFV _ golf TR on X. Cameron Rising in big time caps. Cam Rising. Tell you, I would love to see it. I'd love to see it. Dude's been through a lot. Dude has been through a lot throughout his career, but we've seen what kind of player he can be. One of the most dynamic players in the country when he's healthy. When he's healthy, there's no doubt about that. Again, sort of with Nico, what's his new 100%? He played in the spring a little bit. Sounds like he's a full go. That's fantastic. What is his full go? That's the biggest question. Video game stats? Yes. Talent and value to his team? Yes. Can he lead his team to the college football playoff? Again, with Nico, that's where we get into a question. Can Utah make the college football playoff in the Big 12? If Texas and Oklahoma were in the conference, no. They're not, though. Who's the power in that conference? Oklahoma State? Yeah. West Virginia? I like West Virginia. We'll talk about the West Virginia quarterback coming up in a second, actually. But there's no power. There's no superpower that can jump up, win the conference, and most likely earn one of those top 4 seeds, because I don't think there's going to be a group of 5 team that jumps up and is a top 4 conference champion. So somebody in the Big 12 is going to be a top 4 seed. Why not Utah? Why not Utah? Now, this would be a team that can get in but not win it. We've seen a lot of teams like that before. Michigan State in 2015 is a perfect example. But Kelly Bryant, when he was the quarterback at Clemson, we've seen those teams before. But the Heisman Trophy is voted on before the college football playoff. So does it matter? Nope, it does not. So this is a good pick. I really like this pick. I think when all is said and done, yeah, he would come out of nowhere. I don't think there's any doubt that this would qualify as somebody coming out of nowhere, not because people don't know who he is. I think a lot of people do know who he is. But with the injury, what are the expectations? What are the expectations? To me, I think nationally, the expectation would be good, not great. Good, not great. That's not the way it should be. But let's be honest about who Heisman Trophy voters are. I'm a voter, but I follow college football 24/7, 365. There are a lot of other voters who don't. They're national media members. They are focused on the NBA right now. They will be focused almost exclusively on the NFL in the fall. There are a lot of them. There are even voters who don't even work in sports anymore, or at least in sports media. Do they know who Cam Rising is right now? Probably not. And if they do, they just know his name. They don't know his game. Sorry, another rhyme. I apologize. I really do. I do not, look, y'all, I do not mean to do that. I really don't. I do not mean to do that. But I think, yeah, he qualifies as coming out of nowhere. Tyler, Ray21 Tyler on X. Cade Klubnik. Exhaustive sigh. If you're not watching, that was an exhaustive sigh. Look, I was in the building Labor Day night 2 years ago when Clemson played Georgia Tech, and DJ Uiagalelei was the Clemson quarterback, but everybody wanted to know about Cade Klubnik because DJU was not viewed as favorably as he was the year before. And when Cade Klubnik came out, I think it was either late in the first half or early in the second half. I mean, the roar from the Clemson fans was unbelievable. The hype was there. He has not lived up to it. Basically, he's DJU just a couple years after DJU. And so I don't think he can come out of nowhere because, well, in theory, he would qualify because not many people are expecting a lot from him. So, yeah, he would qualify in that regard. But again, let's go down my checklist. Video game stats, he should, but in that system, is he capable of it? I don't know. I don't think so. Does it matter? Not really, because I think the ACC is down. So Clemson making a college football playoff run and potentially being a top 4 seed, I think is absolutely possible and maybe probable at this point. But it won't be because of Klubnik. It'll be because of the defense. I don't think he's capable of video game stats. With that said, yes, they can play. They can make the playoff. In fact, I think they should make the playoff. But it won't be because of Klubnik. Now, if I'm wrong, and that's the biggest thing, if I'm wrong, then yeah, go ahead and book that plane ticket to New York City. He will be in New York, and he might dang near win it. But I just don't think he's capable of that. I don't think he's capable of just being a stat monster. I think Clemson, if they're going to do something, it's going to be old school, which is fine. Like, they can do that. They've done a good job of that in the past. I'm just not buying Cade as being as much of a power as he needs to be in order to make a run to New York. Ryan Fernandez on Facebook. Clemson fans know what a good QB looks like. Trust the roar. That was the roar 2 years ago that I mentioned. But nobody has seen him yet. That's the thing, is when that happened, nobody had seen him yet. He was just sort of this mythical character. And now he's not. And people have seen it, and I don't know if people like it. Same thing with DJU. People had saw a glimpse of it when Trevor was out with COVID during the COVID year, when DJU went up and put up video game numbers at Notre Dame, even though they lost. But we hadn't seen Klubnik at all. That was when the hype was there. And then I think a lot of people fell out of love with him very, very quickly. Here we go with a guy who you absolutely should know. And if you don't, you should. Garrett Green, GG6 from West Virginia. This is RJ2, Robe the Boss on X. Garrett Green, the signal caller for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Buy. Buy all the stock you can with Garrett Green. You talk about a guy who is one of the most dynamic players in college football. Yes, that is him. If you look at some of these Pro Football Focus lists of players who are the best quarterbacks in the country, yes, Garrett Greene is on that list with a bunch of guys you already know. Garrett Greene is an NFL caliber quarterback. Go ask any scout. And you might not know him. You should, but you might not. So could he make a run at the Heisman Trophy out of nowhere? Yes, he could. The problem, going back to my little checklist of things I look for as a voter, is West Virginia capable of making a college football playoff run? This might come as a shock. Yes. The answer is yes. Why? Because it's in the Big 12, and we have no freaking clue what's going to happen in the Big 12 this year. Not one. Not a single clue. And we vote on the Heisman Trophy after championship weekend before the playoff starts. So is West Virginia capable of winning the playoff? No. Are they capable of getting to the playoff out of the Big 12 and potentially securing one of those top 4 seeds? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And you know what Heisman Trophy voters like? Magical runs out of nowhere. Garrett Greene can be that guy. He absolutely can be that guy. So does he qualify? Absolutely. Video game stats, if you haven't seen it, look it up. Value to his team. Yeah, big time value to his team. If he's not there, West Virginia goes nowhere. Could he lead his team to overall team success? Yes. In the Big 12, yes. In another conference, probably not. But reality is reality, folks. It's just the way it is. So yeah, he'd qualify, and I love it. I can't wait to see him play. We had Neil Brown on the show a couple weeks ago, and if you have not watched that episode, go back and watch it. Neil breaks down basically everything that went on during spring practice with the Mountaineers, and there's a lot to be excited about in Morgantown. All right, last one before we hang up the headset that I'm not wearing right now. Garrett Nussmeier, this from Will Dunn, at Real Will Dunn on X. Garrett Nussmeier. All right. LSU quarterback, won it last year in Jayden Daniels. Nussmeier is not Jayden Daniels. He does not run like Jayden Daniels, period. Is he a willing runner? Yeah. But is the offense going to look the same? No. A, because Jayden Daniels isn't there and he's a different kind of quarterback than Garrett Nussmeier. And B, is a change in offensive coordinator. So with Garrett Nussmeier, yes, he's up on a lot of these lists. I mentioned Pro Football Focus with Garrett Greene. Nussmeier's on those lists too. And if you look at the Vegas odds, like on BetOnline, you can see that he's up there too. He's in consideration in those odds. I'm not willing to put him there yet. I'm not willing to put him there yet. And there are a couple reasons why. Yes, LSU can make a run to the playoffs. So check that box, right? Is he capable of putting up video game stats? I don't know. Nobody does. It's a completely different LSU offense. You lose Neighbors. You obviously lose Jayden Daniels. I'm not willing to put Garrett Nussmeier in that situation. But also, will he have to be in that situation? And ultimately, that's the question for LSU this year. Does Garrett Nussmeier have to put up video game stats? Because that all depends on the defense. Jayden Daniels had to last year. There's no doubt Jayden Daniels had to be what he was last year. Otherwise, LSU wouldn't win any games. That might be different this year. They might dial it down a little bit because why get crazy if you don't have to, if your defense is at least going to keep you in games? So I'm not sold on Garrett Nussmeier coming out of nowhere to be a Heisman Trophy favorite or Heisman Trophy contender right now because we don't know what he's going to be. We don't know what he's going to have to do. We don't know what that offense will look like. We can guess, and that's totally fine. That's why I like this kind of show, because everyone's going to have different opinions, and that's great. We love that. But I do think that's a little aggressive, at least at 10:22 a.m. Eastern time on Friday, May 10th. things could change. Got a whole lot of offseason left, don't we? That will do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered, presented by BetOnline. Go to betonline.ag for all your summer fun. We will have a weekend feast up this weekend. And if you don't know what Weekend Feast is, that features all the best interviews, best commentary from this week. You'll have a Jake Crane interview from Crane & Company. You'll have a Joey Jones interview to check out as well. If you missed that on Monday, it was a phenomenal piece of content about what it's like to be a sports fan and a college football fan overseas while on deployment. And Joey, of course, a veteran Marine bomb tech who had both of his legs blown off in a bomb explosion, an IED explosion. He works for Fox News now. If you have not seen that episode, go back and watch it. Very interesting stuff, at least in my mind, because I've always wanted to know what goes on overseas when some of our bravest and finest folks in the world are doing a lot more important things than watching football on College Football Saturdays. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you Monday.